What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hong Kong FinTech Week 2022. My name is Jason, and joining with me today is King Leung, Head of FinTech of InvestHK, which is the department of the government who's responsible for attracting foreign direct investment. How are you, King Leung?
Very well. So thanks for having me, Jason.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, King. Now, how has FinTech Week been for you so far?
Well, I guess judging by the bus, again, we are talking about like 3:35 p.m. on day two. So in most conferences, a lot of people will have left. But look at everyone around us. The whole place is buzzing. So the momentum and the enthusiasm and the positive sentiments have been unparalleled.
I think, and on behalf of HashKey, I'd just like to thank InvestHK and obviously FinnoVasia. You guys have been doing an amazing job to putting this event together, right? Well, thank you so much, and on behalf of that. Now, last year's theme is Scaling FinTech Future Together. This year's theme is Pushing Boundaries, Reaping Benefits. Can you tell us what was the inspiration of coming up with this theme, and what does that mean?
When you think about the theme, first of all, it's not just us, a few people in Hong Kong, locked in a room. We actually talked to quite a lot of the stakeholders, including the Policy Bureau, so Financial Services Treasury Bureau. And in fact, even the Secretary Christopher Hui, also had very strong inputs into this theme. And also, of course, we reached out to HMA. Now, so when we came up with this theme, there's one underlying message that we want to get across to the entire ecosystem very clearly, and that is pushing boundaries. And that means that for us, of course, in the government, we want to take the lead by example, that we want to have a mindset change, that we want to grow, we want to transform ourselves, and want to show that commitments. And of course, if we demonstrate that, then we hope that we are able to galvanize the whole private sector to basically mobilize the entire ecosystem for us to basically elevate Hong Kong to the next level. Now, the second part of the tagline is about reaping benefits, because we don't want to have, like a slogan for slogan's sake. Oh, let's transform. But the transformation has to lead to some positive results. So that after all, a lot of companies in FinTech, in financial services, they like to do things. The end goal for many companies are to generate revenue and profits. So you have to be able to connect the transformation with some results. So that's why we always want to remind ourselves not to lose sight on getting the actual results.
Now, going back on what you've just mentioned, when people look back at Hong Kong FinTech Week 2022, what is the element that you want them to remember the most about the FinTech Week edition this year?
Now, first of all, there are two answers to your question. And the first one, obviously, has been the day one policy announcement. That is basically going to put Hong Kong on the map to be the virtual asset center on the entire planet. So this is the ambition we have, and it's not just about Hong Kong, of course. Of course, it's the whole senior leadership in the governments. From Financial Secretary Mr. Paul Chan, he came up with the keynote speech, followed by the Chief Executive of HMA, Mr. Eddie Yu, followed by Christopher Hui, Financial Secretary, the Secretary for Financial Services and Treasury, Mr. Christopher Hui, and Ms. Julia Leung from SFC, and many other senior officials. So you really followed what they've been saying. They have been in such a coherent narrative to try to demonstrate how we want to work together to elevate Hong Kong as a global hub for virtual assets. So this is the first. And secondly, you think about just hanging out with friends or some people you never met. Do you really remember what had been discussed, let's say a year from now? Probably not. But what you remember is that feeling. So we want the people to remember this feeling that this is a year, this is the FinTech Week, that mark the beginning of a massive positive change. And the people's feeling have been so uplifting, so enthusiastic about the future.
Now, I want to go back on the policy statement, because that has been the talk of the town over these past 2 days with regards to the direction that Hong Kong is moving forward to becoming a virtual asset hub. Now, Mr. Christopher Hui from FSCB mentioned yesterday that the government recognizes the potential of blockchain and Web3 to become the future of finance and commerce. The government is welcoming the clustering between virtual assets and fintech together. Now, as head of fintech of InvestHK, King, how do you envision virtual assets and fintech to coexist and complement each other?
Well, definitely they are highly complementary. Because in many ways, when we think about fintech, so what is fintech? Now, I think the more, I'll say, the narrow definition that a lot of people will associate fintech with are the solution providers, right? Like banking as a service, there are different regulatory technology, some insurtech platforms, make it easier to launch insurance products. So normally, people would think about fintech as the solution providers. So that's absolutely correct. Now, so those are the tools. So we need the tools to upgrade the Hong Kong financial services sector as a whole. So that in itself is very important. Now, but at the same time, we think about digital assets. What does that mean? Now, we think about, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's only a $1 trillion market. But then you think about tokenizing the other assets. They can be the properties, they can be the bonds, and just tokenize them in a way that you can basically do fundraising much cheaper, right? Let's say tokenizing bonds. Then you're creating a whole new market. Now, so for that, the market sizing, you talk about hundreds of trillion. It's 100 times more than just the Bitcoin, Ethereum alone. So that presents such a massive opportunity. And of course, a lot of how this virtual asset business will evolve, nobody knows. This is something in the future that will play out. But one thing for sure is that we have to have the right environment. So smart people in this fintech / VA industry will basically sort of galvanize the whole ecosystem, attract more talent coming into here, Hong Kong, innovate, launch new products. And by then, as we have more and more smart people launching new businesses, then we are really creating a future of the virtual asset industry, not just for Hong Kong, but for the world.
And my final question, King, is Hong Kong is the birthplace of many very successful fintech startups and unicorns, including crypto companies as well. Now, for companies that are not based in Hong Kong, or basically foreign entrepreneurs who want to set up shop in Hong Kong, what do you say to them in terms of the appeal of Hong Kong, in terms of attracting scale-ups and startups to set up their shop in Hong Kong?
Well, there's just so many. But in interest of time, I'll just highlight three. Okay. Now, first of all, Hong Kong, we do have a very vibrant ecosystem. Now, of course, I think the crypto world, we do have that DNA. Now, even though a few names might have moved some of their people to other jurisdictions, but then they still have operations in Hong Kong. At the same time, there are also numerous players already having a pretty sizable operation in Hong Kong. So we have that so-called traditional virtual asset ecosystem. Of course, with the success of course, I think the one that have captured a lot of media attention is Animoca Brands. So they have done a fabulous job to create a massive ecosystem. So these are not just the so-called traditional finance people, right? It can be gaming, right? To play to earn. And then there are also other peripheral companies. So to my understanding, I think they have invested into over 300-400 companies already. So to creating a massive ecosystem. So number one, first and foremost, is the ecosystem of like-minded professionals in this Web3 world. Now, secondly, obviously, a lot of times people think about, we are going to create some virtual asset products. So who are we going to sell to? Then the natural initial targets are the more affluent segments, i.e. the high net worth individuals. And Hong Kong has one of the highest concentration of high net worth people on the planet. In fact, in a recent survey in 2021, I think it was done by WealthX. So basically, that study showed that Hong Kong is actually number one in Asia when it comes to the high net worth individual density. So we have a pretty good market from a demand standpoint. Last but not least, talents. Now, so there are the finance talents that Hong Kong is known for. But then sometimes people say, would Hong Kong have enough technology talents? The answer is yes. It's just that this is not so widely publicized. And we have proof for that. Now, CoinDesk is one of the very respected organizations. They have done the annual study of the best blockchain universities. And guess what? Actually, last year was the first time I picked this up. I saw that PortU, for example, ranked number 6. And this year, PortU ranked number 1 in the world. So of the top 25, we got 4 Hong Kong universities in the top 25, like blockchain universities in the world. So we do have the talents here. It's just that if we got more businesses, they will hire these talents. They got a chance to practice what they learn, I think that effect basically just mushroom to create a massive ecosystem.
And going off on that, because apart from the CoinDesk survey, there was also a recent survey that actually marked Hong Kong as the most crypto-ready city in the entire world, even in front of the US. So I guess that just to show how vibrant the crypto or how vibrant the fintech community is here in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, it is. Now, of course, I think when we look at, let's say, some Western markets, again, I was just, I got these observations from a lot of the stakeholders from Western markets, and people might tell you, okay, the NFT was a fad like over a year ago, but then the Western countries, the US in particular, they kind of lost some steam. No, but then when you look around the Hong Kong ecosystem, people are still very fired up.
Absolutely.
Right? The whole metaverse, the NFTs. I mean, people are still really motivated. Of course, they have to invest, they have to be cautious, but then they also understand, because they are mature enough, understand that it's just the usual business cycle.
Well, it has been a huge pleasure to speak to you today, King. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on another fantastic Hong Kong FinTech Week, and I hope to see you next year.